steroid free.
What's steroids?
Something that makes your pee-pee smaller.
There must be steroids in macaroni.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another week of Muskie's on Tap. I am one of your 5 in total hosts today. We are currently in the truck on our way back from Lake St. Clair, Michigan, the beautiful shores of Detroit. And we just had a fantastic trip, and we'll get way more into details here coming up. And I'll start introducing the crew that we got here in the truck. We're doing a mobile pod again, just like we did on the way back from Kentucky. These are kind of fun, a little bit of a nightmare with all the gear in the truck, but we'll make it work. My name is Gus Manty, and I'm going to pass the mic here to the man behind the wheel. We got none other than Clayton Spiess with This'll Do Outdoor Adventures. How you doing, Clayton?
Hey, Gus, I'm doing pretty good. I don't know if there's anything illegal about podcasting and driving. Anyways, good to be here today. We wrapped up a really fun day, and we'll get into that a little bit more. Took a long drive down here to Detroit to do a little fishing, and that was super fun. The vehicle ride was awesome on the way down. Coming back now is going to be sporty, so I'm trying not to hit anybody and talk at the same time. I'm not really good at multitasking, but that's okay. We'll get through this. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our next co-host, Mr. Muscatator, Taylor, Mr. Guarantee Guide Service, the guy who has been spending the last 2 days trying to convince me it's a blade bite. It clearly is not, but maybe for him. So how you doing, Taylor?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you, Clayton. It's been an awesome time down here with these guys, and I was happy to get on a boat and do some trolling. It's not something that I know anything about, so I'm not going to contribute anything to this podcast. I went all the way to St. Clair and still caught a fish on a Hunsader tail bucktail.
Yeah.
Without further ado, the man himself, Kyle Hunsader.
Thanks, Taylor. Yeah, this was a really awesome trip. Definitely learned a lot about trolling some different water, and just a great couple days with a bunch of fun guys here. Next host here is Jamie DeGroot.
Hi guys. Really looking forward to this. It's gonna be fun.
Pleasure having you on, Jamie.
Thank
We're
you.
going to get talking about some trolling. I know you Green Bay guys love this. And I know you're joking before with Taylor about his fish being caught on a Huntsy tail out on St. Clair when it was not a blade bite. And we made it a blade bite. You forced it from the Northwoods over there to St. Clair, which is kind of neat and cool to get a Huntsy tail fish out on St. Clair. I don't know, Kyle, if you've heard anything else about that bait over there yet.
I don't believe a lot of people have them on Clair. As far as I know, that's probably the first fish caught on a Huntsy tail on Lake St. Clair. So that was really cool. Really cool to see it work out there.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, do you also, well, you got the mic, Kyle, want to give a lowdown on, why we went over there and who we picked?
Oh, sure.
On the day.
Yeah, so basically, show season this winter. Basically, I said to all the guys, I said, let's go on a trip, and for helping me out at all the booths and setup and everything like that. So 5 guys getting in a boat muskie fishing isn't always easy for a casting trip or anything like that. So I said, let's go to Lake St. Clair on the big boat with Jason Quintano for a day, and let's have some fun out there. And it was a blast.
Yeah, that was a pretty sweet experience. I didn't really know what to expect. I knew that they were gonna run the big mast system, which I don't know if you guys have ever been a part of at all. I know the bay is all boards, but that was definitely interesting to see, and just being in a giant boat with a cubby or whatever underneath and having all the room for our gear, and I don't know, it was very comfortable.
Yeah, it was cool to see that mast system in play. I've never been on a boat where we fished that. Everything has always been inline boards. So to see how that all runs and the clips and everything, and when a fish hits kind of how that all works. So that was definitely really cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I know they were getting some pretty good days, but it seemed like it was starting to get better as we were rolling up to, Lake St. Clair, and then we got delayed a little bit from storms. Of course, we brought the weather a little bit. But when we got out there, I think we got bit before we had, I don't know, only 4 lines were out of our 13 that we were rolling, or 12 or whatever it was.
And it
So
was
that
a big bite.
It was a big bite. Yeah. Yeah. And she snipped.
Unfortunately, we did not get that one. That one
No.
bit us off. So, but definitely got our hopes up right away for seeing a big bite with only four lines in the water.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, there's storms coming in and out, and just like anywhere in the Midwest, and you got storms breaking over. That was pretty much a ocean to us, at least us up north, not you guys on the bay. But as fast as it can split apart, it can also form. I mean, every time we were looking at the weather and seeing when the storms were supposed to hit, everything hit or miss at different times than what the weather people said in the morning. So that was kind of pretty normal, I guess. But we were pumped when he said that we're gonna go into the night. We wanted to do that pretty badly.
Yeah, the plan of the day was sounds like they had done well the couple nights prior, fishing into the dark and into the evening. So our plan was to fish like 11 to midnight, 1 o'clock, and try and capitalize on those full moon majors that night. And we did.
Yeah, we absolutely did. But we chose an order because that was important. There's a lot of us. You can't just, I don't know, tackle each other to get to the rods. We could have, but I think Muskie Tater would have won. He's chomping at the bit to get his first trolling fish over there. I'm sure. But no, we chose them with what was it?
I think we did age.
Age.
Yep. We went oldest to youngest. I was up first. First rod that went off was a walleye.
Oh yeah, that's right. After the loss.
So we made a rule that it's still your turn until it's a muskie, and then it passes off to the next guy. So, but yeah, it wasn't shortly after that. We had a muskie on the line, and I started us off with a beautiful 30-inch St. Clair muskie.
It was gorgeous.
It was
pot belly on it too.
Yep, they're definitely built out there.
That's pretty neat. That might be.
That might have been their smallest one of the season, honestly. I'm not sure.
Quite possibly. Yeah. And then was it pretty quick when Clayton got his afterwards?
Yeah, I think so. And kind of on the smallest one of the season, Jason was saying in the boat that they've been actually seeing quite a few of those small 30 class fish this year, which is really good on a natural reproducing fishery to show that there's another age class fish coming up.
Yeah, so he was like talking about the day before they went to an area different from where he took us, that seemed like more of a numbers lake or numbers part of the lake, and they were catching a lot of fish, but a lot of smaller fish. Nothing was over like that low 40s or something like that. So he wanted to do a little exploring with us, fish some big fish water, and it was actually hilarious. I mean, we think it's hilarious because this is kind of what we do too. So we're on the water and fishing all the time, but he's like, oh yeah, we're fishing. We're not going to get as many, but they're going to be bigger. And the first two fish that come in the boat mine ended up being a solid 33-incher. So another dandy, which still was super fun. Like, not to take it away from it. Like, I was stoked to get a, Lake St. Clair fish. And, I mean, I appreciate every single one that gets into the boat. So, I was stoked about it.
Yeah, it was definitely cool as well when after we caught these fish, they net them and they got that live well tank in there. They drop the net right in the live well tank and then unhook it. So that fish is really only out of the water from water to net to live well tank. I mean, less than 5 seconds. So, but yeah, then they unhook them, slide the net out from under them, and now they're reviving in the live well tank.
That is kind of neat. And you get to look at them for a little bit longer. You get to admire them. I think Jason was saying that, like, what did he say? His biggest ever was casting.
Correct.
And he was like, I couldn't admire it as long. He's like, I almost kind of wish I caught it trolling because then you could sit there and just, almost pet it and keep your hand by it and be like, God, this thing is a monster and check it out. I think that was pretty cool. And I don't know when, I mean, I'm sure they're in other podcasts and internet, whatever. I don't know when St. Clair adopted that and if any other places have. I forgot to ask him.
Yeah, I'm not real familiar with any other lakes that use that live well tank besides St. Clair fishermen.
Interesting. I don't see why not.
Yeah,
That'd be kind of good.
it worked awesome.
Keep the boat moving. You can get doubles, and then you can also revive a fish that you don't want to be dragging while you're trolling, or stop the entire boat and basically be not fishing.
Yep. And that live well tank, for anyone not familiar with it, it's pumping new water on them constantly. So he loads the tank up with water as soon as the rod goes off. It's got fresh water in it. The fish goes in there and it keeps pumping new water in there. So there's constantly new oxygen on that fish, reviving them faster.
Yep, always keeping them upright and then basically not also waiting too long with them. It just once they seem like they're tense enough and none of their fins are looking stressed at all because they seem very comfortable in that. They're very docile, just like they sometimes can be in the net until you maybe poke them or go to try and grab them and they freak out a little bit. But no, I think they like it in there.
Yep. That was a little kind of a little different change of pace for us too. I mean, catching a fish and waiting 5 minutes before you get to take the picture with the fish is not really normal to us. So that was definitely kind of different. So we're kind of celebrating every fish before we even really got to hold it.
At least we got a little bit of time to let the cold beer warm up so we could shotgun it a little easier. So
That is true.
that might have been a positive, actually. I kind of like that.
Well, we started after the first one being really cold for you, Kyle. We started prematurely taking them out so that they warm up a little bit to follow the rules and shotgun after each fish caught.
Yeah, that one gave me a pretty cold belly. That was a nice cold beer.
Yum. Yeah. But yeah, we had we had a lot going on. I don't know if we want to talk about the old his setup for live at all with the
Yeah, that was actually really cool as well. He had a live scope transducer off each corner of his swim platform on the boat. So he could see if there was, what do we have, 12, 13 lines running? So yeah, there was 6 on each side. He could see all 6 lures on each side with the live to see fish coming up out of the weeds or just coming up and following a bait and going to another bait. Definitely kept you interacted in the whole day.
Yeah.
I know, with that, watching those baits and stuff, one cool thing that just popped out as soon as you said that was, we'd be trolling along and all of a sudden one of the baits would start doing some weird stuff and going up and down and up and down. And I'm like, oh, that was either a bucktail or something, but those usually don't move in the water column too much. And, nothing's really happening. So I, asked Jason, I was like, what's going on with that thing? He's like, oh, there's probably a bass or a walleye on there, and who knows how long we've been dragging that. But that's kind of cool to let you know before you actually kill a fish. You can see, if something's off with that bait, it's doing some weird stuff. Small fish, bass were eating, walleyes eating, obviously. So that was pretty sweet to catch that before we do any damage to the fish and we can get them into the boat.
And I thought the one thing with the live too, that's probably more important than seeing the fish following or anything like that, was being able to see what the depths of your lures are at. He does a lot of like school strategies where he's kind of trying to make a school of bait in the water and being able to see where the depth that all those baits are at. So you can accomplish that with your spread.
Yeah, him, Jason, while driving the boat, and his first mate, Johnny, they busted their ass. They were not leaving lures, especially the close to the boat ones, at the same depth for very long. When they're going up and over weed beds and whatever, that is out on Clair, whether it's sandgrass or cabbage or other types of grass or whatever, they were pulling them up when we were going over that and then dropping them back down a little bit when we were off of the weeds. And I think that probably helped a lot. And another thing with live, you could even see when a lure went through a weed bed and basically like move the weeds and then get caught, and the lure might look kind of the same, especially like on the rod. It might still be working, but we knew that like we had to check that one and clear rods or clear the bait, which is extremely helpful because out there, especially those small fish too, or small weeds, they're not gonna, you're not gonna hear the line click, or they're not gonna come off the mast system at all. So if you didn't have that running, you could be running a smallmouth bass or a weed on your bait for way longer than if you didn't have a live out there, which I thought was pretty neat in that whole game. I mean, it was dialed to where, yeah, you could see every single bait on each side pretty much to an extent, or at least know when a big fish was coming up, and they could also do the tugging on the line game to try and get them to eat, which is pretty neat.
Yeah, so after Clayton and I caught our 30 and 33 inches, Taylor was up to bat then. And Taylor continued to bump up our inches. So I'll let Taylor talk about that a little bit.
Well, of course, being a non-troller, I made them work for it a lot. They pulled a lot of weeds off baits, and we had a couple hour stretch there where we didn't really have much going, but it was just after the storm had kind of rolled through, and it was post frontal, and sun was out, and the wind completely shut off. So that's kind of to be expected. So I was happy to be able to get ripped when we did. But yeah, it was quite an experience on my first actual trolling fish. I've did not really think that the fight was going to be what it was. I think I had the worst trolling fish fight ever. We didn't even know if it was a fish to begin with. There was no head shakes, there was no nothing there until it actually broke the surface right before the boat. So then she started doing a little bit of something, but it was very cool to be able to get one on a Hunsie tail, and now hearing that that's the first one on Lake St. Clair, that's pretty cool. But yeah, I actually think that I want to hear from Mr. Jamie because he had a rock hard, you know what, for this trip. He's big time troller, big into the baits and all the things, and he had a lot that he was willing to learn and wanted to see how things were done. So I want to know, Jamie, what did you think was the most impressive or the best thing that you took from this trip?
So seeing how often they were messing with raising up the depths of their lures and just playing with everything showed me that you can do a lot when you're fishing or trolling like that. You can play with a lot of stuff. I guess that was really cool.
They change baits a lot more than you guys in Green Bay. I know you run obviously the stupid chads a lot. But they would change out color more so than actual profile. I mean, do you guys tend to sometimes do that in Green Bay? But I think the only difference is, a big difference, I should say, is that they expect more bites per day than you do in Green Bay.
Yeah, they're getting a lot more results, but we don't change styles of baits. We change colors a lot more than styles. But another cool thing is Jason actually let me help with setting rods and learn how they run their mast system. Their mast system is something I've never played with either. We always run inline boards, but it was cool to learn that.
Yeah, that was kind of neat. I feel like, I mean, yeah, you could put baits closer together if you wanted to. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff you could play around with. I know we kind of chatted about this. The only thing that kind of stunk is that if you had your far mast line, your far out line foul up, or a fish or a bass or whatever, you had to take them all in. Instead of maybe like breaking off the far one and then just sending them down the line, and then when you get that lure unfouled or back to running good, you just send it to the first line. But then we heard that maybe you have to have that far one needs to be a bucktail rather than a crankbait, because when those boards surge, they could, I don't know, lift that crankbait out of the water damn near, or at least make that lure. I don't know. it keeps the board down on the outside, I think you were saying.
And it seemed like a lot of the crankbaits we were running were baits that would walk or swim like side to side. So that might have something to do with it too, where that board surges, those baits are already walking side to side. It just more likely for them to pop up and follow up on top.
Right. Yeah, there was kind of a lot going on, but not to go back kind of to Taylor's fish on trolling. You did smile for the picture, Taylor. How'd that happen?
You made me smile.
I did.
I don't know if somebody said say titties or something, but
Yeah, we got you smile.
made me smile. Usually all business there.
Very good. And then you just set her over the side pretty graciously, right?
Oh yeah, I don't know if Jason's listening to this or not, but he's gonna love it because he said don't post that. So when they release these fish, it's actually pretty cool. They basically just dolphin them into the lake head first, and they go down into deeper water, and they've already been revived in that tank. So obviously they're recovered, they're ready to go. But in the boat that we're in, you're going, whatever, 3 to 4 miles an hour while you're trolling lines, and you can't sit at the side of the boat with these things and gently let them into the water. So you're dolphin these things into the drink, and away they go. So that was kind of fun, getting to just throw a muskie head first into the lake. I've never done that before,
It
so
was fun.
very exciting times for me. I know that we're gonna get into it, but Gus had the big fish of the day. And when he did his, he just turned around giggling like a little kid. So that was probably the funniest thing of the trip. But I do believe the next one up was Jamie. He ended up catching a really pretty, mid 30-inch fish or whatnot. So I'll let him tell you about that.
Yeah, so it's no secret in this truck, at least, that I've been on pretty dry spell lately. I've been in a slump. So first rod goes off. I'm grabbing it, I'm fighting it, and I'm not feeling like much. Pull it in, little smallmouth. I'm like, yep, that's par for the course. So
Yep.
some time passes, another rod goes off, and then this one's ripping hard. It was a good fish. I finally got it to stop running, turned, and as soon as it turned, it just popped off. Like, all right, yep, this is how this is gonna end. But about an hour later, rod goes off, same rod as the one we lost the fish on before, and yeah, caught on beautiful 35-incher. So
Nice.
Yeah.
That was the first Clair fish for all of y'all.
yes,
So that's why in the story I'm like PBs. Everyone got a personal best. and yeah. So we got that one. Yeah, a couple walleyes too mixed in or whatever that kind of, got the blood flowing, but then as soon as we realized it wasn't much, kind of figured it was either going to be a small muskie or walleye, but yeah, then we, you got yours I don't know, a little after sunset, I think. It was dark.
It was dark. I would say it was after 10 o'clock.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. It was hard to tell because it was a full moon in Detroit and all the lights are on the lake. It wasn't as dark as I thought it was going to be.
Yep. Kyle just looked it up. It was 11 o'clock when I got mine.
With the time, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so it was a good clip. Yeah. I mean, we had just stupid amounts of fish following that you could see on the live. They'd come up and maybe they'd play around with it, maybe they'd back off. The one thing that I noticed that we did talk about a little bit last night, we had we had some creative juices flowing last night. We were going to record this at about 2 a.m. from the hotel room, but as soon as we got back, that wasn't going to happen. I think we wanted to go to bed. We were maybe even going to do the pod on the boat, but yeah, who knows how that could have gone. I'm sure everybody would have been just scrambled all over the place, but I forgot where I was going with that anyways. But night went in a little further. I think Jason was kind of calling out when and where we should end. They're it looked like they're doing their last clearing of each side because the wind laid down actually so much that you'd either go through not much on the surface and then out of nowhere you'd get some just big old weed bogs and floating bugs in certain spots, and then everything would just get kind of cluttered, and then they had to clear those quickly. But
And it was actually looking like Gus was going to be the only one to zero on this trip because we were
Yeah.
probably about 5 to 10 minutes from packing up. Jason had pulled the live transducers in because those stick off the corner of the boat. He had pulled those in, and I think he had said maybe, yeah, about 5 minutes we'll start packing them.
Yeah. Yeah. He's kind of pointing on the graph. He's like, we're going to go to this waypoint, turn, and then we're just going to like probably start taking them in, you know.
And then
And then the Midnight Marauder, Midnight Madness. The first one, well, I shouldn't say first one. We had one, an outside one pop off, but this one was a no-brainer. I think everybody saw it. Everybody heard it. The rod went off. It clipped off of the clip on the mast system and started zipping right away. And everyone was just all hands on deck. And obviously knew this one was a ski this time. And then I got the rod and I could not reel it for the first, I don't know, what felt like a long time, but I could not reel it for a while. So I knew we had a real one, hooked. But I've never fought one like that with that setup and that type of boat, so I wasn't sure. I mean, it could have been just a feisty low 40s. I have no idea. It could have been a 55. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know what they're supposed to feel like, but they got like the lights on in the back and I'm gaining ground. I'm doing the musky shuffle, going back and forth and getting, that's about the only way I could gain on this fish. And it was sitting on the surface for a while. And then when I got within maybe, I don't know, 30 to 40 feet, I could tell it was a really big one. But also I thought weeds in front of it, but I think that was just the big head on it. What ended up being the giant noggin on it. And then when it got really close, Jason was explaining like this blue light here, when you're bringing them into the net, it's a shrinker. It shrinks everything. You don't know, like you always think it's smaller. And they got in the net, and as they got in the net, we're all, high fiving or whatever. They hoisted over and we're like, holy shit, look at that thing. That thing's just curled up in the net, dropping the tank. We're staring at it, and we're like, oh boy, that's gonna be, possibly a PB, probably a PB for you. Them saying that to me, and I just don't really have words because, up until this year, I pretty much have not really been around super, super big fish, but ended up being a part of the third 50 on the year. And this one would be my first 50 and personal best. So thank you, Quintano and Johnny, for busting their ass all day to get a last minute, midnight muskie. So that was pretty neat. Yeah. But we didn't know it yet.
Ended up going what, 50 and 3/4 by 22?
Yep, 15 3/4 by 22, big head, kind of like a pot belly. Like it had a really fat, heavy belly. And yeah, he's got a very crude measuring in the tank to kind of give a approximate. And he kind of just, while it's in the water, press it up against the side a little bit, and he's like, that's gonna go 50. And we're all like, oh boy. I'm kind of freaking out, and then we girth it in the tank. And then we do quickly measure it, get the measurement. With Stoke goes way up. Everybody's fist pumping and yelling and and then we get the big camera set up so we can kind of do a good lighting and video on it. So I got the old grip and grin solo shots, and then we got one with all five of us together. That's probably going to be the thumbnail of this podcast or whatever. That'll be my favorite part of that fish because it really was a group effort. Of course, you still wish, obviously, like Jason and Johnny could have gotten that too, but because they busted their ass and to get us on those fish. So, but yeah, that was an incredible moment to share, especially with you boys. I had a blast.
Yeah, that one actually came on Jason and his brother Matt are making baits now called the Mad Tad, and that one actually came on one of their baits, which was really cool as well.
Yeah, and a really nice color. Some kind of black perch that, is a favorite of Max and I for up north. That's kind of hard to beat that color anywhere you go. And I could tell we're starting to like that color. I think you had a lot of follows on that one during the day. So it was almost like a matter of time. But yeah, and I totally would have been fine if a rod didn't go off and we went back with the 4 fish, and I had an absolute, blast with you guys and chopping it up. But that was a pretty nifty end to a long day on the water. And now we're going through the beautiful area of, I don't know, southern Michigan, getting close to Gary.
Yeah. I just wanted to chime in. Like, it was just electric how the mood changed too, because I think Jason, like, once he realized, that we all kind of do this a lot, most of us for a living and stuff, whether we make baits, whether we fish for a living, guide, whatever. He probably felt a little bit of pressure, even though, we're probably some of the best people to have a bad day with, because we know how it is. Doesn't matter, if you're on fish or not. Weather can screw things up, a whole number of things. The fish just start short striking. We ended up going, what, 5 for 10, I think. We lost 5 fish, and 2 of them were probably really big fish. One for sure was, because we did get a glimpse of it. I got to go back and look at the GoPro footage, but that was a super. All I remember is I just put my camera on my head. That was that first rip, and I came out of the cabin and went up the stairs. I got up on the top step, and that rod was going off, and I just like looked up, and I just see this giant like wide thing just kind of roll as it cut the line, and I was like, holy crap, is that how today's gonna be? I don't, for better for worse. But so Jason and Johnny were kind of stressed out. Jason was feeling really bad, and they cared. Like, they did everything they could to get us on as many fish as possible. And with the lure switching, and they communicate very well with some other guys that they got out on the lake that are fishing too, whether they're casting or trolling. They have a really good network, and as soon as there's like a window going on, they want to let each other know. And if there's a certain bait that's going off, they let each other know, and that kind of, I think, determined what baits they were going to run, for the next hour or whatever, and why we would do some major lure switches right away, as if something was happening on another boat. So they did everything they could to get us dialed in and to get that bite that we were looking for. But boy, what a mood swing. We went from, like, they were upset a little bit, we were like, whatever, like, we had fun. It was totally worth it, no matter what had happened, just for the experience and everything. And then they were like ready to party afterwards, which was awesome to see. Like, Jason literally was like just absolutely thrilled about that fish. And it was really cool to see him get excited about a fish, because I know how many fish, now we know how many fish, they put in the boat. And I always wonder, like, what does it take to get somebody that, just sees these every day and is able to do this? What does it take for them to get excited? So that was freaking sweet. Like, to see them jacked up the way they were, like, that made me even more excited.
Yeah, the first mate Johnny, when we were busting ass going back to the dock, going 25 miles an hour, he was standing up on the sides and looking like Captain Jack Sparrow out there, just hollering like, whoa! Just, dun, 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 dun. I thought that was pretty sweet, but yeah, they were so freaking pumped. I mean, that's so cool to see. That's exactly what you want to see about, your guys that are trying to put you on fish. It means that they care, and they care a lot. When they're frustrated, that means they care. When they're super happy and pumped, we get one, no matter the size, that means they care. So we always love seeing that, and that's definitely, how it should be. So what a freaking way to end it on Lake St. Clair, all of our first times there. And I think we'll be back. We don't know for what, if it's trolling or casting or jigging. Well, maybe not casting. We we trolled by some of the casters and how they're working rubber, and we might have to pass on that. That's not a vacation.
That looked like a long day.
Yeah.
One thing I gotta say, I don't know if any of us, 5 of us in this truck right now, would call us lucky or anything like that, but being non-residents coming to a big body of water, like, I hear it from people coming to Green Bay. Every time they come, it's 3-4 footers, and I'm like, oh, it was calm 2 days ago, and we went to Lake St. Clair, and I've heard how rough that could be. I think we might have hit the calmest day on Lake St. Clair that I've heard of.
Yeah, because he said it's a giant lake that's not very deep, so all the waves that it kicks up are like high frequency, so they're really dangerous. And
I mean, there was times there was barely a ripple on the water that day.
Oh yeah, piss on a platter.
Yep.
Oh, there's one thing that we didn't really mention so in his giant boat, he's got two motors, and this was kind of neat that we were all thinking about, and I think Jason probably already knew it or knows it, but I think all of or most of our bites were on the side of the boat where the motor was going because he's got two on each side that'll switch to, make the hours the same by the end of the year and whatnot, and all the action was on the motor side.
Yeah, I think he switched. He turned on one motor and then turned the other one off, and he'd switch probably every 4 hours, I'd say. But yeah, it was consistent. Then the bites would turn to the motor side compared to the non-motor side. And I mean, even if it was on the farthest, like Taylor's came on the furthest rod out, closest to the big board. So, but still to see that the bites were coming on the side with the noise was very interesting.
With that, you could actually on the live, you could actually see the prop wash kind of, kicking out towards the baits, and we were kind of doing circles around one like giant weed bed as well. And I had kind of wondered if it had anything to do with that turbulence being shot out towards those baits, if it flared the baits in a certain way, or even if the bait fish were fleeing a little bit, more, sporadically, or trying to escape or whatnot, headed that way, that kind of spiced up the fish a little bit extra, or it just things like that. The small details of it, and looking for those small details makes you a better angler, and kind of wondering and questioning, why did those boards on the motor side go off? That's kind of the fun part about muskie fishing, even if you're casting or trolling or whatever it is figuring out those little details, and trying to find a pattern, even though no matter what we think we know about muskies, they suck, and they usually do the opposite of that. So just interesting to me.
No, he was dialed in his game, especially with the waypoints too. Speaking of details, I've never seen. I thought it was just a vast everything weeds out there, but no, there's clusters. He's got it dialed. He knows exactly where to go, and he was turning quite a bit actually with the boat, and he would actually even do some sharp turns if we. I mean, there was a point where we had I think three big muskies, by size comparison on the graph, come up and look at lures in like a 45-second time period. He threw a waypoint down when he saw that, and we'd go back and turn around, and he'd see another big one come up, and he's like, "We're on that mark." It's still there, I guess they move around, but maybe not as much as you think. At least in a half-hour time frame, not like a 24-hour time frame. So, and he's always moving around, going through his clusters and working quite a big area.
And I was really shocked too on seeing on watching that live and seeing those muskies come up and look at a bait. Like I guess I've always thought like a muskie will come up and follow for, I mean, 50 feet, 100 feet. I mean, maybe longer than that. And we really did not see that. They would shoot up out of the deep weeds, and they would look at a bait, and then they'd go right back down. Like, or they'd go look at another bait maybe once in a while, and then they'd go right back down. But they never really stayed behind it for a long length of time.
No, that was actually interesting because in the few years that I have ran live while trolling, which is honestly been my favorite use of live, and it seems like Wisconsin fish, they'll come up and follow the first bait if it's at the right level, and then when they're not interested or you rip the rod and they don't go after it and they back off, they go right to following the next bait behind it. Like they just want to keep following it and following it and following it. I've dragged them, halfway across the lake still following lures, acting like they're following a sucker or something like that. But no, not in St. Clair. It seems like those fish there's definitely plenty of them suspended, but like a lot of them probably hang tight in those weeds, and they just fly up to eat whatever they're going to eat. And if they don't want to eat it or they didn't like what they saw right away, it's right back down. They're very efficient killers out there.
And there was a few of them where we were ready to grab a rod because a fish would just come screaming straight up out of the weeds like a rocket and then go right back down.
There was one thing that I had thought about while we were out there a number of times, and he talks about current and how much current is flowing through that system, where it like completely fresh water every like 7 days through the whole lake, which is insane to me to think when you look at how vast it is. But I kind of wish I would have asked him if there was anything that he would notice about like direction of trolling in the current, and if the current played a factor at all as to when we got more bites or didn't. And I'd tell you what, like, it was hard for me to kind of keep my bearings. I'd look for Detroit all the time. And sometimes it was raining so hard halfway across the lake that you couldn't even see where we were anymore. But, as we're spinning around this weed bed, I didn't know if like there were certain areas too that had maybe more current. Maybe we got those bites going in or with. What do you guys like? I know, on Green Bay, you talked about currents before with me when I've been out there trolling, especially in the river. Do you have any preference if you're going into the current or with it at all?
So in fall, when we're in the Fox River trolling, the big thing about that is going into the current, you want to slow way down because your baits they're going to be moving a lot faster with that current. Going with the current, you're going to go almost a half mile an hour faster. So I have noticed that. Out on the bay, I like going with the wind direction with the current, I guess, if there is undercurrent from wind, but I haven't noticed anything that drastically different.
I think the one, I don't know. I think I've gotten bit every way, but I feel like the more times than not, it's either a crosswind or going downwind. I don't know if the fish are positioned like that. It can, if you're going crosswind, you'd think that the baits are going across their face and they get time to look at it, and then they go fly up and eat it. And then if you're going right into their face, you're almost making them have to eat it rather than going against the wind. You'd think you're going tail first at them, and then you scare them. That's always a thought process for me. But then again, if you're going against the wind, you could always cross a fish's path that's moving and grooving and facing whatever direction, and then it eats. So I'd still end up doing, both ways, especially if I'm going back and forth on a certain break line or something in the fall or whatever. Usually in the spring, it doesn't matter because we're open water trolling where you're just going all over the place. Where in the fall, I'm trying to, bang baits right under the bottom or off cribs or who knows. Yeah, I wonder if they do, because the current was also changing the water temps. We had multiple degree shifts on literally trolling felt like the same area, because we drove out there and we put the lines in and he never picked up to go anywhere else. And we're still seeing temperature shifts of 2 degrees, 3 degrees, maybe a couple degrees, staying in that like 73, 5, 4 range, 72.
70 to 74.
70 to 74, yeah. So that was staying at a nice temperature. Those fish seem to be very happy about that.
With the current thing, there was a pretty significant current, which I found interesting that it was actually in basically the center of the lake, for how much current there actually was coming from that river yet. I believe towards the evening we were trying to troll at like a 3.2, 3.3, and that was after dark. And when we were going into the current, we were going that speed. But then once we looped around to actually go back on, I believe it was a fish that Gus had caught at the end there. He had not touched the throttle at all, and he actually pointed that out, that we were ended up at like a 3.9 or a 4 when we were headed back the other direction. So that tells you how much current was actually ripping through the very center of that lake. And that was absolutely wild to me to think about, as we don't really have any of that in the Northwoods of Wisconsin.
So then when he turned around and the boat was going faster, do you think the baits they have the same action though? Do you think going down current like that? No.
I don't think so. I'm at least what I've noticed when I've fished with, Jamie and Kyle in the river and stuff. Like Jamie said, you gotta change speeds based on what direction you're traveling with or against the current. But I'm thinking when we were going with the current, we were moving faster, but honestly, I feel like the baits maybe settled down a little bit. Had a little bit less action than before. Almost like force fed them, not really, or like presented it in front of their face a little bit longer, so they didn't have to travel quite as far, and you maybe get those bigger ones to eat. Which was kind of like why I asked, look, cupcake.
6-inch Mad Dad cupcake.
Yeah. That's kind of like, I guess that's why I was brought up the question in the first place, was we got that big one And, if we were going with the current, going faster, but were we actually moving the baits faster, we set that bait after dark right in front of that fish long enough so if it was a little lazy, it was still had plenty of time to swim up and chew it, which was sweet.
And I think a lot of that with current is looking what the bait is doing too, on seeing how it's running. If it is running different, knowing what speed you need to be at. Um, like we said earlier, there was a down rod on the boat, and then there was an out rod attached to the boat that weren't attached to the mast line, and it seemed like they checked those a lot. And we didn't ask this, but that may have been what they were doing, is checking to see how that bait was running, maybe after he had turned a little bit to see if the current was different or not.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I could definitely see that. I mean, because they were switching so much, and I don't know, they're probably communicating to each other without even speaking, on just knowing, like, he turns left, go check this side or whatever, and bring in the baits.
Yeah, you can tell those two have worked together for seems to be a lot of years, because they definitely were in sync with each other on what was going on, and even just saying number 2 rod and just knowing what that was and what to do. So
yeah, it took me about 4 to 6 hours to realize which rods they're talking about at some point. I'm like, I know the long rod's the 12-footer.
Yep.
So, I at least got that down. That's too good. But yeah, we're on our way back, and that was a great time. Awesome trip to kind of break up the summer. We're all going to be right back after it, whether it's work or guiding or building many baits for you, Kyle, with Huntsy tails and all that. We were pretty excited to do this. It was nice. Oh yeah. The upcoming trip. Oh yeah, yeah, Kyle and Jamie are going to Vermilion with Muskie Clayton. So that
and it's blade season.
it is blade season, I heard. So there might be some Huntsy tails thrown. What do you got to say, Taylor?
Hell yeah, blade season.
Hell yeah. So I know you guys got that coming up. So how are you feeling for that one?
I'm pretty excited for that one. We went last year. We fished for 3 full days. We had an awesome trip, ended up catching 7. Clayton's going out there a few days early ahead of us. And then I think me and Jamie are going to fish for 4 to 4.5 with Clayton this year. So get another day and a half out of it. And I have some redemption with a fish I lost last year. So hopefully we can find her or one of her sisters on this trip.
Dude, yeah, I'm always so excited to go to Vermilion. For whatever reason, I don't really know what it is about that lake. Just the complexity, the ability to fish so much different kind of structure than what I fish back at home. The memories that we have there. I've had some epic trips. I've had some zeros. But it always seems to present itself a substantial fish, that follows. Every time I go there, there's something that'll show itself that'll be like, oh yeah, that's why I come over here, and that's why I'm going to go back again next year. So, yes, I do get to go there a few days ahead of time. I got a couple other buddies coming for 3.5 days before. So I have a full week there, which will be the first time I've ever been there for that long. Man, I hope I got something figured out by the time you guys come, because yeah, it can be a bugger over there, but like I said, there's so much different stuff to fish. We'll find a pattern one way or another, and I am thinking it's going to be blade season now. So thank you, Taylor, for pounding that into my mind the last 2 days and showing me firsthand that yes, they actually are. And even though you're taking lots of pictures with blades in the net and muskies, it's not all staged, I guess. It's for real.
And to add to that, I believe the 4 days that Jamie and I will be there with Clayton are all pink days.
Oh
all
boy,
pink days.
That's gonna be a lot of fun. Definitely will be slightly jealous, but I'll be fishing hard in northern Wisconsin. I know Taylor will as well, and we'll be excited to see some pictures of hopefully some giants, plural, that you guys get over there. or whatever you get on. I mean, our one time, Max and I go in there. Out of any place that we've ever been so far, that is still the only place where like we would go back there in a heartbeat on our own time, when we find the time. So, that's going to be an absolute blast for you guys. And I know you have now many years of experience, so I think you got a lot to go on, and you're still exploring, new spots yet, new areas, because you don't just fish one side of the lake. You guys kind of go all over the place, so which is pretty cool as well.
Wrap it up, Gus. The guy's driving.
Wrap it up, yeah. We're starting to get into the sketchy areas of Illinois and tough driving. So I think we'll put a bow on this podcast. I think before I do any sort of outro, anybody can add whatever they want at that end here, but more so just promote if they got something to promote. I know some of you do. And we'll start with Tater. You got the mic in your hand.
I don't have anything to promote at all, except I want to say that I am extremely happy that Gus was able to pop a new personal best and hit the 50 mark after guiding many people to trophies of their own. So it was very cool to see that, and I feel like it was I think all of us kind of feel like it was meant to be that Gus was going to do it on this trip. I think we all had pretty high hopes going into it, and then the highs and lows of this is muskie fishing, and kind of all of us thinking and coming to a realization that it just wasn't going to happen, and then for a buzzer beater to come in and I mean just blew up the day. So that was absolutely incredible, and I want to thank Jason Quintano and Johnny as well. They busted their ass, and then I also want to thank Kyle for getting us all together and getting to do this and hang out with the guys during all of our busy time of the season. So it was cool to get away and get out with the guys and have a great time.
Hell yeah. I that's awesome. So, and if you do want to book a trip with old Tater, Taylor Flannery at Muskie Guarantee Guide Service, you can find all his stuff on Facebook and the interweb. So be sure to check that out. Also now we got Kyle with the mic. He's got Huntsy Tails Bait Company.
Yeah, so I make the Huntsy Tail bangers. You can find them at quite a few retailers now throughout Wisconsin. Otherwise, you can contact me directly if you're looking for anything custom. So, yeah, like Taylor said, great trip. It was an awesome couple days here, and we'll have to plan another one soon.
Yep, can't wait. Now we got Jamie. You got anything? Sure.
Yeah, I wanted to thank Jason and Johnny again that they worked their ass off. This was a really good trip, really fun trip, and I want to thank this group of guys. This was something sharing this with this group of guys was awesome. So that's all I got.
Awesome. All right, Clayton.
Yeah. Shout out to Fins and Grins, and the old Calypso. That's an awesome boat. Such a great time. Great to spend it with you guys. This trip is pretty special. It is hard to pull us all away from our daily lives during our time to make money. So to be able to make it work was sweet. I hope we can do it again. If you'd like to get out in the boat with me, I still have some dates. A couple left in August. Just hit me up because it's changing. We're filling it up pretty quick. But September, October, and if you want to go brave the elements in November, I have plenty open yet. Let's get out and go do some fishing. Getting to be a great time of the year. So hit me up on my socials, Facebook, Instagram. My phone number is 715-891-1046. You can call or text. And yeah, check out the YouTube channel. Hopefully, I think we got enough footage for a little episode. At least a little, compilation of fish caught and fish lost. So, a little tour of Calypso as well. Super sweet boat. Definitely check out those guys. Jason Quintano over there on Lake St. Clair. If you want to go on an epic trolling or casting trip, hit them up.
Yeah, I believe he's got, what do you say, a 25-footer center console Ranger for casting. So I think whether you're in Calypso, his trolling boat, or his big casting boat, you're always going to be comfortable out there. So shout out again, Fins and grins. We saw many fins and there was many grins on our faces. So the name spoke for itself there. And he was an absolute blast to talk with as well. So had a great time. Of course, you can find more details on Muskies on Tap and Suggs Fishing on Facebook, Instagram. We've got our pages there, and then also www.suggsfishing.com. I got some openings throughout the late summer into the fall as well, so just reach out there. But we didn't even mention it before, but it's just us five. We didn't even have Brian and Max on. They I don't know what they're doing, probably regular people things. And but they'll be back on, I'm sure, the next week or whatever. So look forward to that. And no full on outro that Brian likes to do. So I'm just gonna wrap this one up nice and clean and easy. So we'll catch everybody on the next episode. Peace.